The Great Hall of Axis Prime could hold 1 million beings. Today it held exactly 847 delegations from every corner of known space. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling that showed the stars themselves. Floating platforms carried ambassadors from species that breathed methane, lived in water, or existed as clouds of connected light. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the central podium and waited for her turn to speak. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. At 63 years old, she had served humanity in the Galactic Concord for almost 4 decades. She had watched empires rise and fall. She had negotiated trade deals worth more than Earth's entire economy. She had smiled through insults, bowed through mockery, and kept her silence through 12,000 years of galactic politics that treated her species like children. Today was different. Today she would break that silence. The Concord Assembly met once every standard year for the Fleet Registry Declaration. It was the most boring day on the calendar. Each species would announce their military vessels, confirm they remained under the sacred limits, and sit down. The treaty had kept peace for 12 millennia. No species could possess more than 200 combat ships. None could build anything larger than destroyer class. The rules had worked. Wars became rare. Conflicts were solved through trade and diplomacy. The galaxy was civilized, but civilized did not mean equal. The Velthari sat in the highest platform, as they always did. Their scales gleamed purple under the artificial sun. Their empire stretched across 3,000 systems. They had dominated Concord politics since before humans learned to make fire. When the Velthari spoke, others listened. When the Velthari demanded, others obeyed. High Ambassador Kethaveran looked down at Chen Wei with obvious boredom. The humans were always last on the speaking list. They were always quiet. They were always forgettable. He checked his personal device. His dinner reservation was in 2 hours. The human would take perhaps 30 seconds. "The delegation from Earth," announced the assembly speaker. "You may present your fleet registry." Chen Wei touched the control panel. A holographic display appeared above her head, showing Earth's modest fleet. 42 patrol vessels, 18 frigates, no destroyers. The same registry they had submitted for 80 years. "The United Nations of Earth confirms our current fleet status," Chen Wei said. Her voice was steady. "We also wish to amend our registry." A few delegates looked up from their devices. Amendments were unusual. "We are declaring one additional vessel." Kethaveran frowned. One ship was hardly worth mentioning. The humans probably built another patrol craft to guard their asteroid miners. Chen Wei touched another control. The holographic display changed. For a moment, nobody understood what they were seeing. The ship in the hologram was impossibly large. The scale markers had to be wrong. No vessel could be 47 kilometers long. No single ship could carry 340,000 crew members. No weapon system could require a reactor core the size of a small moon. The designation read UNSS Prometheus, Titan-class Dreadnought. The hall fell silent. 847 delegations stared at the rotating hologram. They saw the massive engine arrays that could push the ship to speeds no Concorde vessel could match. They saw the weapon ports that lined the hull like scales on a dragon. They saw the fighter bays that could launch 10,000 smaller craft. This was not a ship. This was a mobile fortress, a planet with engines, and it was human. "This is a joke," said Delegate Morvax of the Crethian Unity. His voice was uncertain. "This must be some kind of artistic display." Chen Wei touched another control. The hologram shifted to show sensor data, radiation signatures, mass readings, gravitational distortion patterns. "The Prometheus has been stationed behind Earth's moon for the past 60 years, she said. "We are now formally declaring its existence as required by Concord law." The silence shattered into chaos. 1,000 voices screamed at once. Delegates leaped from their platforms. Security officers rushed toward the central stage. The Velthari delegation was on their feet, their scales flushed red with fury. "This is impossible!" Kethaveran roared above the noise. "You cannot hide a vessel of this size. Our sensors would have detected it." "Your sensors looked for what they expected to find," Chen Wei replied. She had not moved from the podium. "You expected to find nothing. So that is what you found. This violates every treaty, every agreement. You have broken the sacred law of the Concord. The treaty limits combat vessels. The Prometheus has never fired its weapons. It has never engaged in combat. Until this moment, it did not officially exist. We have broken nothing. Kethvorin's claws scraped against his platform railing. Word games. Legal tricks. You know what you have done, human. You have built a weapon of conquest while pretending to be our friends. Chenwei looked up at him with those calm eyes. She had practiced this moment for years. She had imagined his fury 1,000 times. It was exactly as she expected. No, she said. We built a weapon of survival. There is a difference. Survival? Against whom? The Concord has maintained peace for 12,000 years. The Concord has maintained peace within the galaxy, Chen Wei said. It has not looked beyond. Another voice cut through the noise. It belonged to Elder Rethkai of the Kethri, one of the oldest species in the Concord. The Kethri were small, fragile beings with silver skin and eyes like deep pools of water. They rarely spoke at assembly meetings. Ambassador Chen, the elder said, I have a question. The hall quieted slightly. When a Kethri spoke, others listened out of respect for their ancient wisdom. You say your ship has been hidden for 60 years, but you joined the Concord 80 years ago. The elder leaned forward. When did you begin building it? Chen Wei turned to face him. Construction began 112 years ago, 32 years before we joined the Concord. The silence that followed was different from before. It was not shocked, it was confused. You built this weapon before you even knew us, Elder Rethkai said slowly, before you had faster-than-light travel, before you left your own system. Why? Chen Wei took a breath. This was the moment, the truth that humanity had carried alone for over a century. Because we found something, she said. Our first deep space probes traveled further than anyone expected. They reached the edge of the galaxy, and they found ruins. She touched the control panel. New images appeared in the hologram, strange structures floating in the void between stars, cities on asteroids frozen and dead, ships the size of continents broken and drifting. 23 civilizations, Chen Wei said, all destroyed, all at approximately the same time. The dating is imprecise, but our scientists estimate the destruction occurred roughly 50,000 years ago. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many delegates had never heard of such discoveries. We found similar patterns at other locations, Chen Wei continued. Different civilizations, different technologies, different biologies, but all destroyed in the same period. And when we analyzed the debris, we found something else. The hologram changed again. It showed impact patterns on ancient hulls, weapon signatures on destroyed stations. They were not destroyed by each other. The attack patterns are identical across all 23 sites. Something came from outside the galaxy. Something killed them all. And based on other evidence we found, this was not the first time it happened. The hall was completely silent now. We estimate the cycle occurs every 50,000 years, Chen Wei said. The next cycle is due within the next few centuries. Perhaps sooner. Kethvorin found his voice. This is absurd. Convenient fiction to justify your illegal weapon. You are welcome to send your own expeditions to verify our findings. We will provide exact coordinates. And even if this story is true, why hide it? Why not warn the Concord? Chen Wei smiled sadly. We tried. 80 years ago, before we officially joined, we sent messages to every species we could reach. We shared our findings. We begged for help. Do you know how many responded? She paused. None. You dismissed us as primitive fearmongers. Our messages were filed and forgotten. We were not yet worthy of attention. The accusation hung in the air. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. So we made a choice, Chen Wei said. We could not force you to listen. We could not force you to prepare, but we could prepare ourselves. We could build something that might give the galaxy a chance when the darkness came again. You should have told us, Kethvorin snapped. We did tell you. You did not listen. So we smiled and joined your Concord and played by your rules. And we built our insurance policy in secret. Chen Wei's voice hardened slightly. We hoped we would have more time. We hoped to eventually convince you through trust and friendship. But you forced this moment, High Ambassador. Your spy satellites detected unusual activity near Luna. Your investigation was about to expose us, so we chose to reveal ourselves on our own terms. Kethovorin stepped back. He had indeed ordered that investigation. He had expected to find some minor treaty violation, something to embarrass the humans at the next trade negotiation. He had not expected this. Elder Rethkai rose slowly from his platform. His ancient body trembled with effort, but his voice was steady. Ambassador Chen, I wish to ask one more question. Of course, Elder. You have possessed this weapon for 60 years. You have watched the Velthari dominate our politics. You have endured mockery from species far weaker than you now appear to be. You could have revealed this power at any time. You could have demanded respect, territory, influence. You could have threatened us all into submission. He paused. Why didn't you? Chen Wei looked at the ancient being. In his silver eyes, she saw something she had not expected. Not fear, not anger, hope. Because that is not who we are, she said simply. We built the Prometheus to protect life. All life, not just human life. When the enemy comes, and they will come, we will fight for every species in this hall, even those who hate us, even those who would destroy us for what we have done. She turned to address the full assembly. You can sanction us. You can expel us. You can declare war. We will not use this ship against you. That is our promise. But we will not surrender it either. Because whatever you decide today, the Prometheus will be the only thing standing between this galaxy and extinction. The hall erupted again into chaos, but Elder Rethkai remained standing, his eyes fixed on the human woman at the podium. He had waited 40,000 years for this moment. His species had once been great. They had built an empire across 100 systems, and then something had come from the darkness between galaxies and burned it all away. The Kethri survived only because they were small and scattered and not worth the effort to destroy completely. They had never forgotten. They had never stopped watching the void. And now, finally, someone else had seen the truth. He activated his personal communicator. Get me Ambassador Chen, he said quietly. Private channel. Tell her the Kethri wish to speak about old ghosts and older debts. The private chamber was small and dark. The Kethri preferred low light, and Chen Wei had adjusted the settings to accommodate her host. She sat across from Elder Rethkai in a chair that had been hastily modified for human proportions. 3 days had passed since her announcement. The Concord was still in chaos. Emergency sessions had been called and abandoned. Delegations had stormed out and returned. The news feeds across the galaxy talked of nothing else. The humans had lied for 80 years. The humans had built an impossible weapon. The humans could not be trusted. Or perhaps the humans had protected them all. Perhaps the humans had been right to be afraid. Perhaps the galaxy owed them gratitude instead of anger. Nobody could agree on anything. But Elder Rethkai had asked to see her, and Chen Wei had come alone. I apologize for the poor accommodations, the elder said. His voice was soft, like wind through dry leaves. Our embassy was not designed for visitors. I am honored to be here, Chen Wei replied. The Kethri have never invited a human to their private quarters before. We have never had reason to. The elder's large eyes reflected the dim light. Until now. He gestured with one thin arm. A holographic display activated between them, showing star maps far more detailed than anything Chen Wei had seen before. They marked locations she recognized, the ruins her people had discovered at the galaxy's edge. But they also showed dozens of other sites she had never known about. You found 23 destroyed civilizations, Elder Rethkai said. We have found 107. Chen Wei leaned forward. You knew about this? All along? We knew. We have known for 40,000 years. The elder's voice carried ancient sorrow. We were the 108th civilization, Ambassador. We were among those destroyed in the last cycle. But we were lucky, or perhaps unlucky, depending on perspective. Some of us survived. He touched the display. It zoomed to show a system Chen Wei did not recognize. 7 planets orbiting a yellow star. This was our homeworld, Kethra Prime, a beautiful planet of warm oceans and gentle winds. 12 billion of our people lived there. The image changed. The planet was now blackened and cracked. Oceans boiled away. Continents shattered. The harvesters came without warning. We had no weapon that could stop them. Their ships numbered in the millions. They stripped our world of everything: minerals, water, organic matter. They processed our people like raw materials. Chen Wei felt cold despite the warm room. How did any of you survive? We had colony ships preparing for expansion to other systems. A few 100,000 of our people were aboard those ships when the attack began. They watched from hiding as our civilization was consumed. The elder deactivated the display. In the darkness, his eyes seemed to glow faintly. We rebuilt, slowly, painfully. It took us 30,000 years to recover enough to join the Concorde. But we never forgot what we saw. We have been watching the void between galaxies ever since. Waiting, dreading. Why didn't you warn the others? We tried. The elder made a sound that might have been bitter laughter. Just as you tried. We spoke of the harvesters at Concorde meetings. We presented our evidence. We begged the other species to prepare. And they didn't listen. They called us traumatized survivors telling ghost stories. They said our memories were corrupted by time. They said such a threat would have returned already if it were real. The Velthari especially mocked us. They said fear had damaged our minds. Chen Wei understood now. So you stopped speaking of it. What purpose would it serve? We were too weak to prepare alone. The others would not help. We could only wait and hope the cycle would spare us this time. The elder reached across the table and touched Chen Wei's hand. His skin was cool and dry, like paper. And then you arrived, a young species from a small planet. You had barely left your own system. You had no power, no influence, no reputation. But you had seen what we had seen. And unlike us, you did not give up. We considered it, Chen Wei admitted, many times. Building the Prometheus nearly bankrupted our civilization. For decades, our people suffered poverty and hardship to fund a weapon they didn't understand against an enemy they couldn't see. But you continued. Yes, because we refused to accept extinction as inevitable. If we were going to die, we would die fighting. And if there was any chance at all, that we could save others, we had to try. Elder Rethkai's grip tightened slightly. You have given us hope for the first time in 40,000 years, Ambassador. I want you to understand what that means. The Kethri have lived in shadow since before your species existed. We have watched the stars with dread every night, knowing that death could come at any moment and no one would help us. You are not alone anymore, Chen Wei said. Whatever happens, humanity will stand with you. I know. That is why I asked to meet with you. The elder released her hand and sat back. There is something I must tell you. Something my people have kept secret even longer than your Prometheus. He activated another display. This one showed technical specifications that Chen Wei could not immediately understand. Complex equations, energy patterns, something that looked like architectural plans. When the harvesters destroyed Kethra Prime, they did not get everything. Our scientists had been working on new defensive technology, experimental weapons. The research station was hidden in the outer system, disguised as a dead moon. Chen Wei's heart began to beat faster. It survived? It survived. And for 40,000 years, my people have continued that research, in secret, against all Concorde laws. The elder's eyes met hers. We have shield technology that can resist harvester weapons. We have sensor systems that can detect their approach from outside the galaxy. We have weapon designs that were never completed because we lack the resources to build them. Why are you telling me this? Because alone, the Kethri cannot use these technologies. We are too few, too weak, and the Prometheus alone, no matter how powerful, cannot defeat the harvesters. There are millions of their ships. He pushed the display toward her. But together we might have a chance. Human engineering, Kethri knowledge, combined into something new. Chen Wei stared at the specifications. She was not an engineer, but she understood enough to recognize what she was seeing. These were not minor improvements. This was revolutionary technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The Velthari will never accept this, she said. They are already calling for our expulsion. If they learn you have also been breaking treaties, let them call for whatever they wish. For the first time, the elder's voice carried strength. I am tired of hiding. My people have been afraid for too long. You have shown us another way. If you can stand alone against the anger of the entire Concorde, so can we. Chen Wei considered his words carefully. You understand that sharing this information will make the Kethri a target as well. The same species that hate us will hate you. Good. Let them hate. Better to be hated while fighting than loved while waiting to die. The elder stood slowly, his joints clicking with age. I have lived for 300 years, Ambassador. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched the Velthari strut and preen while the real threat grows closer with each passing decade. I am done with fear. He moved to a sealed cabinet and pressed his hand against the lock. It opened to reveal a data crystal that seemed to glow with inner light. This contains everything. All our research. All our secrets. 40,000 years of knowledge. He held it out to Chen Wei. Take it. Use it. Build something that can stop the darkness. Chen Wei took the crystal. It was warm in her hand, as if alive. Why do you trust us with this? She asked. You barely know humanity. I know enough. The elder smiled, and for a moment his ancient face looked almost young. I know that you had the power to enslave the galaxy and chose not to. I know that you have been preparing for war not for conquest but for survival. I know that your ambassador stands here alone, in a strange room with an alien she has never met, because she believes in building bridges instead of walls. He returned to his seat with obvious effort. And I know that my people have been alone for too long. We were wrong to give up hope. You have reminded us that sometimes one species, one ship, one choice can change everything. Chen Wei held the crystal close. I promise you, Elder, we will honor this gift. Whatever happens, humanity will not forget what the Kethri have suffered, or what you have trusted us with today. I know you won't. The elder's eyes grew distant. Tell me, Ambassador, do you believe we can win? Honestly? Chen Wei thought about the question. She thought about the Prometheus, wounded but powerful. She thought about the harvesters, numberless and unstoppable. She thought about all the species in the Concord who hated her, feared her, wanted to see humanity destroyed. I don't know, she admitted. The odds are against us. Even with your technology, even with everything we have, it might not be enough. Then why do you keep fighting? Chen Wei smiled. Because giving up means admitting that all those civilizations died for nothing, that the Kethri suffered for nothing, that my grandfather spent his whole life building the Prometheus for nothing. She stood and bowed slightly to the elder, a gesture of respect her mother had taught her. Maybe we lose. Maybe the harvesters destroy us all. But they will know they were in a fight. They will carry scars from this galaxy for whatever remains of their existence. And maybe somewhere, some survivors will escape. They will carry our story to new stars. And they will know that when the darkness came, we stood against it. Elder Rethkai nodded slowly. That is a worthy answer. His communicator chimed softly. He glanced at it and his expression changed. Ambassador, I think you need to see this. He activated the main display. A newsfeed appeared, showing a deep space monitoring station at the galaxy's edge. The station was dark, dead. We lost contact 2 hours ago, the elder said. The last transmission? He manipulated the controls with trembling hands. The last transmission showed this. The image was grainy and distorted, but the shape was unmistakable. Something massive was emerging from the void between galaxies. Something that blocked the stars behind it like a spreading shadow. Something that should not exist. Chen Wei felt the blood drain from her face. They're early, she whispered. They're not supposed to come for another century at least. Time estimates based on ancient data, Elder Rethkai said. His voice was steady now, the fear replaced by cold determination. It seems the harvesters follow their own schedule. More shapes appeared in the feed. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. The void between galaxies was filling with darkness that moved and hunted. Ambassador, the elder's communicator chimed again. This is an emergency priority message from the Velthari flagship. They are requesting immediate contact with you. Chen Wei laughed despite herself. It was not a happy sound. The same Velthari who want us expelled from the Concord? The very same. Elder Rethkai's expression was grim. It seems the High Ambassador has seen this feat as well, and suddenly a Titan-class human warship does not seem quite so threatening. Chen Wei looked at the crystal in her hand. Then she looked at the screen, where death was pouring into the galaxy like water through a broken dam. 80 years of planning, 60 years of hiding, endless hope and endless sacrifice. And now, ready or not, it was time. Connect me to High Ambassador Kethvorin, she said. An elder. Contact your people. Tell them to share everything, every specification, every design, every scrap of knowledge. The Conquered will expel us both. The Conquered won't exist in a year if we don't stop that. She pointed at the screen. Treaties don't matter anymore. Politics don't matter anymore. Nothing matters except survival. The elder activated his communicator. His voice carried across the private network to every Kethri ship and station in the galaxy. This is Elder Rethkai. Authorization code, Last Light Protocol. The darkness has returned. Share everything, hide nothing. This is the moment we have prepared for. This is the day we stop being victims. He looked at Chen Wei as the responses began flooding in. It seems neither of our species will be quiet anymore. Chen Wei nodded and turned to face the communication screen where the Velthari High Ambassador was waiting. For the first time in 80 years, she was looking forward to this conversation. High Ambassador Kethvorin looked older than he had 3 days ago. His purple scales had lost their gleam. His eyes, which had always burned with pride and certainty, now carried shadows of doubt. Ambassador Chen, he said through the communication screen, I believe we need to talk. Yes, Chen Wei replied. We do. Behind her, Elder Rethkai watched silently. The Kethri had already begun transmitting their hidden research to human ships. 40,000 years of secrets were now flowing through space in encrypted data streams. The monitoring station at Grid 7 has been destroyed, Kethvorin said. His voice was strained. Initial reports suggest... He stopped and took a breath. Initial reports suggest the attacking vessels match no known design in our databases. They match ours. Chen Wei sent him a file. This is what we found at the galaxy's edge. The same weapon signatures, the same destruction patterns. Kethvoran's scales paled as he reviewed the data. This is real. Yes. And you have known for over a century. Yes. The Velthari closed his eyes. For a moment, he looked like a tired old man instead of the most powerful diplomat in the galaxy. We have 14 species ready to demand your expulsion from the Concord, he said quietly. We have trade sanctions prepared. We have military positioning that could blockade your entire system. I know. All of that is worthless now. Yes. Kethvorin opened his eyes. What do you need? It was not the question Chen Wei had expected. She had prepared for threats, demands, ultimatums. She had not prepared for cooperation. Time, she said. We need time to mobilize. The Prometheus can engage their advanced forces, but we cannot stop the main fleet alone. We need every ship that can fly, every weapon that can fire, every species that can fight. The Concord fleet limits... Forget the limits. Chen Wei's voice was sharp. The limits were designed to prevent war between ourselves. They will not save us from extinction. Every shipyard in the galaxy needs to start building now. Every military academy needs to start training now. Every scientist needs to start researching now. That will take months, years. Then we have to survive months, years. Chen Wei leaned toward the screen. High Ambassador, I did not build the Prometheus to rule the galaxy. I did not hide it to threaten you. I hid it because I knew this day would come, and I knew you would not listen until you had no choice. You could have... I could have what? Shown you our evidence and been dismissed like the Kethri were? Begged for help and been ignored like every other young species that warned of danger? You would have taken the Prometheus from us. You would have locked it away for the good of the Concord. And when the harvesters came, you would have had nothing. Kethvorin was silent. I am not asking for an apology, Chen Wei continued. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am asking you to put aside your pride and help me save your people. The Velthari straightened in his chair. His scales began to regain some of their color. What exactly do you propose? Chen Wei activated a new display. It showed a map of the galaxy with the harvester incursion marked in red. The enemy is entering through the outer reach. They will move toward the core, stripping resources as they go. Based on the destruction patterns we found, they do not target specific species. They target everything. Planets, stations, ships, asteroids, anything with usable materials. How do we stop them? We cannot stop them, not completely, but we can slow them. We can make them pay for every system they take. And while we fight, your shipyards can build. Build what? Our vessels are toys compared to that. Kethvaran pointed at the Prometheus specifications still hovering in the display. The Prometheus took humans a century to complete. You do not have a century, but you can upgrade what you have. Better weapons, better shields, better tactics. Chen Wei looked at Elder Rethkai. The Kethri have technology you have never seen. They are willing to share it. Kethavoran's eyes narrowed. The Kethri, they have nothing. They are survivors of the last harvest, Elder Rethkai interrupted. His voice was quiet but firm. My people lost everything 40,000 years ago. We have been preparing for this moment ever since. We have shield technology that can resist harvester weapons. We have sensor arrays that can track their movements. We have weapon designs that were never completed because we lacked the resources. The Velthari stared at the old Kethri. You have been hiding this? For how long? Longer than your species has existed, High Ambassador. The elder's tone carried no apology. We tried to warn you. You laughed at us, so we kept our secrets and waited. Kethavaran looked between the two of them. The human who had built an impossible ship, the Kethri who had hidden impossible technology. Two species he had dismissed as insignificant. Two species who might now be the galaxy's only hope. The others will not accept this, he said slowly. The coalition I built, they are afraid and angry. They want someone to blame. Then give them someone to blame. Chen Wei smiled grimly. Blame the harvesters. Blame the enemy that is killing billions while we argue about politics. Turn their fear into fury. Turn their anger into action. You make it sound simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. We fight or we die. Every species in this galaxy. Together or separately, that choice is yours. But humanity has already made ours. She transmitted another file. This one contained complete technical specifications for the Prometheus. Weapons, shields, reactors, everything. Kethvaran looked at the data stream with confusion. What is this? Our gift to the conquered. Everything we know about building Titan-class vessels. We are releasing this information to every species, regardless of their political stance. Use it or ignore it. That is your choice. You are just giving away your greatest advantage? It was never about advantage. Chen Wei felt tired suddenly. 60 years of secrets, decades of preparation, all of it coming down to this moment. We built the Prometheus to save lives. All lives. If we die protecting the galaxy, our knowledge dies with us. This way, something survives, something grows. Maybe the species that come after us will finish what we started. The Velthari was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer. I have been High Ambassador for 300 years. I have negotiated treaties that shaped the destiny of thousands of worlds. I have always believed that the Velthari way was the right way, that we knew best, that others should follow our lead. He looked at Chen Wei with something that might have been respect. I was wrong, about many things, perhaps about everything. We do not have time for regret, Chen Wei said. Only action. No, you are right. Kethavaran stood straighter. I will speak to the coalition. I will tell them what I have seen. Some will listen, others will not. But those who listen, I will bring them to you. And the sanctions, the blockade? Forgotten, dissolved. We have more important enemies now. He paused. Ambassador Chen, for what it is worth, I am sorry. Chen Wei nodded slowly. Help me save the galaxy, and we will call it even. The communication ended. Chen Wei turned to face Elder Rethkai. Do you believe him? The elder asked. I believe he is terrified. Fear makes people do surprising things. It can also make them do terrible things. Yes. Chen Wei walked to the window. Outside, she could see the lights of Axis Prime stretching across the station. Millions of beings from hundreds of species, going about their lives. Most of them did not yet know that death was coming. We need to warn them, she said. All of them. Not just the diplomats and the generals. Everyone. The panic Will happen anyway. Better they learn from us than from the harvesters. She activated her communicator. Get me a galaxy-wide broadcast channel. Emergency priority. Ambassador, are you sure? No, but I am sure that secrets have kept us divided for too long. Humanity hid the Prometheus. The Kethri hid their technology. The Velthari hid their arrogance behind rules and treaties. Look where it brought us. She straightened her uniform and faced the broadcast recorder. Today we stop hiding. Today the galaxy learns the truth. And today we ask everyone, every species, every world, every individual, to make a choice. Fight with us or stand aside. But know this, when the darkness comes, there will be no neutral ground, no safe harbors, no mercy from an enemy that sees us all as raw materials. The broadcast light turned green. Chen Wei looked into the camera and spoke to the galaxy. My name is Chen Wei, Ambassador of the United Nations of Earth. 3 days ago, humanity revealed a secret we had kept for over a century. Many of you are angry. Many of you are afraid. You have every right to be. She took a breath. But I did not come before you today to apologize or explain. I came to warn you. Right now, at this moment, an enemy is entering our galaxy. They have no name we know. We call them the Harvesters, because that is what they do. They harvest civilizations. They strip planets bare. They process sentient beings like ore from a mine. Images appeared beside her. The ruins at the galaxy's edge, the destroyed monitoring station, the vast shadows emerging from the void. This is not speculation. This is not theory. This is happening now. The Harvesters destroyed over 100 civilizations 50,000 years ago. They have returned to do the same to us. She let the words sink in. Humanity built the Prometheus because we found evidence of this threat and no one would listen. We hid it because we knew you would take it from us. We revealed it because we knew you would need it. And now we are giving you everything we know. Our technology, our research, our hope. The broadcast showed the data streams being transmitted across the galaxy. This is not a gift with conditions. This is not a bargain or a treaty. This is survival. Take our knowledge. Build your own ships. Arm your own worlds. And when the harvesters come for you, and they will come for you, stand beside us and fight. Chen Wei looked directly into the camera. The Prometheus cannot save the galaxy alone, but together, all of us, every species, every world, we might have a chance. Not a good chance, maybe not even a fair chance, but a chance. She smiled slightly. Humanity has always believed that the universe is worth fighting for. Today, we ask you to believe it too. Stand with us. Fight with us. And maybe together, we will prove that life in this galaxy is too stubborn to die. The broadcast ended. Elder Rethkai moved to stand beside her. That was brave, he said. That was necessary. Chen Wei watched the response indicators light up across her console. Millions of messages flooding in. Billions of beings reacting. Some would join them. Some would not. Some would hide and pray. Some would fight among themselves. But some, enough, she hoped, would hear her words and understand. The galaxy had always been divided. By species, by politics, by fear, by pride. Today, for the first time, it had a reason to unite. Whether it would be enough remained to be seen. But for the first time in over a century, Chen Wei allowed herself to feel something other than dread. She felt hope. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and watched her galaxy burn. The main display showed the Harvester fleet spreading through the outer reach like ink through water. 14 star systems had already fallen. Billions of lives reduced to processed materials. Planets stripped to their cores. Stations broken apart and fed into massive construction vessels that built more harvesters from the debris. The enemy did not negotiate. They did not communicate. They simply consumed. Sarah was 47 years old. She had trained her entire adult life for this moment. Her father had been one of the engineers who built the Prometheus. Her grandmother had been among the scientists who first discovered the ancient ruins. 3 generations of the Okonkwo family had dedicated themselves to preparing for a war that might never come. Now it had come, and Sarah was not sure if any of them had prepared enough. Admiral, Commander Jiang Wei spoke from the tactical station. He was young, barely 30, but he had earned his position through skill and dedication. Long-range sensors have detected a Harvester Vanguard fleet entering the Kethros system. Estimated strength, 2,000 vessels. Any survivors from the previous systems? Some evacuation ships made it out, maybe a few million refugees total. The Harvesters did not pursue them. They don't care about refugees. Refugees don't have resources worth harvesting. Sarah studied the tactical display. What do we have in the Kethros system? Minimal defenses, a Concord patrol group, 12 vessels. They are requesting immediate support. Sarah nodded slowly. The Prometheus was the most powerful ship ever built by any species in the galaxy. It could defeat 2,000 Harvester vessels. Probably. But there were millions more behind them. Navigation, plot a course for Kethros, maximum speed, tactical, bring all weapon systems to full readiness, and get me a channel to the patrol group commander. The great ship hummed with power as her massive engines engaged. The Prometheus moved through space like a mountain given wings, graceful despite her impossible size. Channel open, Admiral. A Velthari officer appeared on screen. His scales were pale with stress, his eyes wide with controlled fear. This is Commander Kethval of the Concord patrol ship Vigilance. Admiral Okonkwo, thank you for responding. We cannot hold this system. You don't have to hold it, you have to evacuate it. Get every civilian ship moving toward the inner systems. We will cover your retreat. And the colony on Kethros Prime? 300 million people. How many transports do you have? Not enough. We can evacuate maybe 40% before the Harvesters arrive. Sarah closed her eyes. This was the math she had dreaded, the math that turned people into numbers. Evacuate who you can. Prioritize the young. The children can rebuild. The old understand sacrifice. Admiral, we cannot just leave. Commander. Sarah's voice was firm but not unkind. In 6 hours, the Harvesters will reach Kethros Prime. Anyone still on that planet will be dead. You can save some, or you can save none. Those are your only choices. The Velthari nodded slowly. His training was taking over, pushing down the horror. Understood, Admiral. We will begin evacuation immediately. The channel closed. Sarah turned to her crew. The bridge of the Prometheus held 300 officers, each an expert in their field. Human, Kethri, Velthari, and a dozen other species who had volunteered to serve aboard humanity's great ship. I will not lie to you, she said. This is the first battle of many. We cannot save everyone. We cannot win every fight. What we can do is buy time. Every hour we give the rest of the galaxy is an hour for shipyards to build, for soldiers to train, for scientists to develop new weapons. She looked at each face in turn. Some of us will not survive what comes next. That is the price of standing between death and life. But know this, every one of you matters. Every station you hold, every system you operate, every breath you take in this fight matters. The Harvesters are strong because they are many and they are endless. We are strong because we choose to be, because we fight for something worth fighting for. She turned back to the main display. Now let's go save some lives. The Prometheus emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kethros system. The Harvester Vanguard was already there. 2,000 ships spread across space like a swarm of metal insects. They were ugly vessels, functional rather than designed, built for one purpose only. Behind them, the planet Kethros Prime hung like a blue-green jewel. Evacuation ships were rising from its surface in desperate streams. Admiral, the Harvesters are targeting evacuation vessels. Weapons free, all batteries. Target their forward elements. The Prometheus unleashed hell. Her main cannons fired beams of concentrated energy that could cut through a moon. Her secondary batteries launched swarms of intelligent missiles that sought out engine signatures and detonated with nuclear fury. Her point defense systems created walls of fire that shredded anything that came too close. The first wave of Harvesters simply disappeared. Hundreds of enemy vessels reduced to expanding clouds of debris in seconds. But more came. Always more. The battle became a dance of destruction. The Prometheus moved through the enemy fleet like a predator among prey, her weapons never stopping, her shields absorbing impacts that would have vaporized any other ship. Hull damage to Sector 7, Commander Zhang reported. Shield generators at 60%. We have taken out approximately 800 enemy vessels. And the evacuations? 60% complete. The transports need another 2 hours. 2 hours. In 2 hours, the Prometheus would face the full weight of the Harvester Vanguard. And behind them, the main fleet was approaching. Millions of ships that would turn Kethros into a dead rock. Admiral, a sensor officer's voice was sharp with alarm. New contacts emerging from faster than light. Multiple signatures. Sarah felt her heart sink. If the main fleet was arriving early, identify. They are, Admiral, they are conquered vessels, Velthari battlecruisers, Kethri support ships, Rithani engineering vessels. I am counting over 400 ships. Sarah stared at the display. The new arrivals were forming up around the Prometheus, taking positions in a protective formation. Incoming transmission, Admiral. It's High Ambassador Keith Voren. The Velthari appeared on screen. He was wearing military armor now, his scales gleaming under combat lights. Admiral Okonkwo, I hope you do not mind some company. High Ambassador, what are you doing here? What I should have done from the beginning. Kethvaran's eyes were hard with determination. Ambassador Chen asked me to help save the galaxy. I decided that words are cheap. Actions matter more. You brought the fleet yourself? I asked for volunteers. I expected perhaps 50 ships. 400 answered. The Velthari smiled grimly. It seems we are not all as cowardly as our politics suggested. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. She had expected to fight alone. She had expected humanity to bear this burden without help. She had been wrong. Welcome to the war, High Ambassador. Try to keep up. The combined fleet hit the harvesters like a hammer. 400 Concord vessels supported the Prometheus, their weapons adding to the destruction. The enemy vanguard began to crumble, but the cost was high. Concord ships were smaller, weaker, not designed for this kind of fight. They died by the dozens, their crews sacrificing themselves to protect the evacuation transports. Kethri vessel Starlight is reporting critical damage. They are losing containment. Tell them to pull back. They are refusing. They are ramming the nearest harvester cluster. The display showed a small Kethri ship, barely 100 meters long, driving itself into the heart of an enemy formation. It exploded with the fury of a dying star, taking a dozen harvesters with it. Sarah bowed her head briefly. Then she looked up and continued commanding. 3 hours later, the battle was over. The harvester vanguard was destroyed. Kethros Prime had been successfully evacuated. 300 million people lived because of what happened here today. But the Prometheus was bleeding. Her shields were nearly gone. Her hull was scarred with impact marks. 17 of her crew had died when a harvester managed to breach the outer sections. And 68 Concord vessels would never fly again. Their crews had fought and died beside humans they had once feared and distrusted. Sarah looked at the debris field where those ships had made their final stand. Commander Zhang, record the names of every vessel that fell today. Every captain, every crew member. They will be remembered. Yes, Admiral. High Ambassador Kethavoran's image appeared on screen again. He looked tired but proud. Admiral, that was, impressive. It was necessary and costly. Yes. The Velthari was quiet for a moment. My people have fought many wars. We have always fought for territory, resources, pride. I do not think we have ever fought for anything that mattered as much as this. Welcome to humanity's burden, High Ambassador. We have been carrying it for a long time. You will not carry it alone anymore. Kethavoran straightened. I am returning to Axis Prime. I will speak to the full Concord Assembly. I will show them what happened here today, and I will ask them to join us. Will they listen? Some will, some will not. But after today, no one can claim that this threat is imaginary. No one can pretend that hiding will keep them safe. Sarah nodded. Go! Tell them! And tell them to build! We won this battle, but it was one vanguard fleet. The main force is coming. We need every ship, every weapon, every warrior the galaxy can produce. I understand. The channel closed. The Velthari fleet began moving toward the system's edge, carrying their message back to the heart of the Concorde. Sarah turned to address her bridge crew. Damage reports in 1 hour. I want full repair estimates. We have maybe 3 weeks before the harvesters regroup and attack again. I want the Prometheus ready. Admiral, Commander Zhang's voice was quiet. The ship's reactor core is damaged. We can repair it, but it will take longer than 3 weeks. We might be able to fight again, but we will not be at full power. Sarah absorbed this information. The Prometheus was the galaxy's best hope, and she was wounded, perhaps fatally. Then we make every shot count. She looked at the stars beyond the viewports. And we hope that the galaxy learned something today. We can fight these things. We can win, but only if we stand together. The Prometheus limped away from the battlefield, carrying the hopes of a galaxy on her broken hull. Behind her, the wreckage of the Harvester Vanguard drifted in silence. It was only the beginning, but for the first time, it was not a beginning humanity faced alone. 1 year had passed since the first Harvester attack. The galaxy was changed forever. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Prometheus and watched 17 Titan-class vessels take formation around her. Each one bore the design signature of a different species: Velthari weapons, Kethri shields, Rithani engines, human structural engineering. Each one was crewed by officers from a dozen worlds. Fleet status, she requested. All vessels report ready, Admiral. The combined fleet is in position. The combined fleet. Words that would have been impossible 1 year ago. After the Battle of Kethros, everything had changed. High Ambassador Kethovorin had stood before the full Concord Assembly and shown them the recordings. The desperate fight, the Harvester swarm, the Concord ships dying to protect civilian transports. And he had shown them something else, something that made even the most stubborn species pay attention. He had shown them the list of the dead: 68 ships destroyed, over 4,000 crew members killed, Velthari, Kethri, Rithani, Morvax, and a dozen other species, all fighting and dying together. They did not ask what species you were before saving your lives, Kethovorin had said. They did not check your political standing before standing between you and death. They simply fought, and they died, for all of us. The Assembly had voted that same day to suspend all fleet limitations. Every shipyard in the Concorde began construction immediately. Every scientist who could contribute was assigned to weapons research. Every military academy opened its doors to anyone willing to fight. The old politics were not forgotten. Species still argued, still competed, still distrusted each other. But they did so while building warships. They quarreled while training soldiers. They disagreed while sharing technology. It was messy and chaotic and imperfect. But it was also beautiful. Admiral, Commander Zhang's voice pulled Sarah from her memories. Long-range sensors have confirmed the location of the Harvester construction facility. It matches our intelligence exactly. Sarah studied the display. The facility hung in the void between galaxies, a massive structure that built new Harvester ships from the materials stripped from destroyed civilizations. It was the heart of the Harvester operation. If they could destroy it, the enemy could not replace their losses. But the facility was defended. Over 500,000 Harvester ships surrounded it, more than the combined fleet had ever faced. Final casualty estimates from our previous engagements, Sarah asked. We have lost approximately 300 vessels over the past year. Enemy losses are estimated at over 1 million ships, but they rebuild faster than we can destroy them. If we do not eliminate the construction facility, this war becomes one of attrition that we cannot win. Sarah nodded. She had known this for months. Every battle they won bought time, but time was running out. The Harvesters were endless because their factory was endless. Cut off the source, and the enemy became finite. Cut off the source, and the galaxy had a chance. Open a channel to all fleet commanders. The screen divided into 17 sections, each showing the bridge of a different Titan-class vessel. Velthari, Kethri, Human, and others, all watching her with the same determined expression. Commanders, today we end this. She activated the tactical display, showing the enemy position. The Harvester construction facility produces approximately 10,000 new ships per day. Every day we wait, the enemy grows stronger. Our fleet is the largest ever assembled by any civilization in galactic history. If we cannot destroy that facility, nothing can. She looked at each commander in turn. I will not pretend this will be easy. Many of us will not survive. But if we succeed, we give our children something that no one in 50,000 years has had. A future without fear, a galaxy without harvesters, a chance to build instead of just survive. Commander Kethval of the Velthari Titan Vengeance spoke up. Admiral, my crew has asked me to deliver a message. We have served under human command for 11 months now. We were taught to fear your species. We were told you could not be trusted. We were wrong about many things. His scales flushed with emotion. Today we are proud to fight beside you. Whatever happens, know that the Velthari will remember what humanity did for this galaxy. We will teach our children about the ship called Prometheus. We will tell them how one species chose to carry hope when everyone else had given up. Similar messages came from other commanders. The Kethri spoke of their ancient debt finally being repaid. The Rathani spoke of the honor of building ships that would defend instead of destroy. Even species that humanity had never known before the war spoke of the strange, stubborn people from a small planet who had shown them what courage looked like. Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away. Then let's give them a story worth telling. All ships, engage. The combined fleet surged forward. The battle that followed would be remembered for 10,000 years. 18 Titan-class vessels hit the Harvester defensive line like hammers of light. Behind them, 3,000 smaller ships, the rebuilt Concorde fleet, armed with technology that would have seemed like magic 1 year ago, spread out to engage enemy reinforcements. The Prometheus led the charge, her weapons firing without pause. She was scarred now, her hull carrying the marks of 100 battles. But she was also stronger, upgraded with Kethri shields, Rathani power systems, contributions from a dozen species who had once been enemies. Enemy losses at 50,000, Commander Zhang reported. 60,000, 70,000. They are pulling ships from the facility defense to reinforce the line. Good, that's what we want. Sarah watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. All ships push forward. Drive them back. The Harvesters did not feel fear. They did not retreat. They simply calculated optimal responses and adjusted their tactics. But they had been built to fight individual civilizations, not a united galaxy. Their programs had no strategy for enemies who sacrificed themselves for each other, who fought not for survival, but for hope. They were learning, but they were learning too slowly. Hours passed. The battle stretched across millions of kilometers. Ships died on both sides. Harvester vessels shattering under concentrated fire. Concorde ships exploding as they pushed beyond their limits. The Velthari Titan Vengeance lost her port engine section and kept fighting. A Kethri cruiser, too damaged to continue, drove herself into a Harvester formation and detonated her reactor. Human pilots and small fighters made runs against enemy vessels 1,000 times their size, knowing they would not return. And slowly, meter by bloody meter, the combined fleet advanced. Admiral, Zhang's voice was hoarse with exhaustion. We have reached the facility. The defensive fleet is down to approximately 100,000 ships. They are pulling back to form a final perimeter. Sarah looked at the massive structure on the display. It was ugly and functional, like everything the Harvesters built. Automated systems worked ceaselessly inside, processing raw materials into new weapons of destruction. All Titan-class vessels, focus fire on the facility. Everything we have. 18 great ships aligned their weapons. The energy buildup was visible even across the vacuum of space, a gathering storm of light that seemed to make the stars dim. Fire! The beams struck the facility simultaneously. Shields that had protected it for 50,000 years flickered and failed. The structure began to break apart, explosions rippling across its surface as critical systems overloaded. But it was not dead yet. Admiral, the facility is launching emergency construction drones. If they escape, they can rebuild somewhere else. Intercept them, all available ships. The smaller vessels of the combined fleet scattered to chase the fleeing drones. The Harvester defensive fleet, seeing their factory dying, threw themselves at the Titan-class ships in a final desperate attack. The Prometheus shuddered as 100 enemy ships focused their fire on her. Shield failure in sectors 3 through 9. Hull breaches on decks 40 through 55. Maintain fire on the facility. Don't let up. More beams struck the dying structure. More explosions. More pieces breaking away into the void. But the Prometheus was dying too. Her shields were gone now. Her hull was being torn apart by enemy fire. Systems were failing across the ship. Admiral! Zhang was bleeding from a head wound. We have lost main propulsion. Weapons down to 30%. Casualty reports are... He stopped. He could not say the numbers. Sarah looked at the facility. It was almost dead. One more concentrated strike would finish it forever. But the Prometheus could not deliver that strike. She was done. Signal the fleet. Tell them to finish the job. We've done what we can. She activated the ship-wide communication. All hands, this is the Admiral. The Prometheus has fought her last battle, but we have done what we came to do. The facility is dying. The harvesters will never recover from what we have accomplished today. She paused, looking at the bridge crew who had served with her for so long. It has been the greatest honor of my life to command you, to fight beside you, to call you family. Whatever comes next, know that you made a difference. Know that you saved the galaxy. The main display showed the other Titan-class vessels converging on the facility. Their combined fire struck the weakened structure, and this time there was no resistance. The Harvester construction facility exploded. The light filled the void, a new sun born from the death of ancient evil. The remaining Harvester ships, suddenly cut off from their source of reinforcement, began to drift. Without new orders from the facility, they were directionless. Without new ships to replace their losses, they were doomed. The combined fleet fell upon them without mercy. Sarah watched from the crippled bridge of the Prometheus as the enemy died. 100,000 became 50,000. 50,000 became 10,000. 10,000 became 1,000. And then there were none. The battle was over. The harvesters were finished, and the Prometheus, broken but unbowed, drifted among the wreckage of the greatest victory the galaxy had ever known. Admiral! Zhang was crying now, tears running down his face. We did it. We actually did it. Yes. Sarah reached out and took his hand. We did. All of us. Together. Rescue ships were already approaching from the surviving fleet. Medical teams would save those who could be saved. The dead would be remembered. And somewhere in the core of the galaxy, children would grow up without fear. They would learn about the harvesters in history classes, not in survival drills. They would study the War of Unity as an ancient victory, not a present threat. The Prometheus would never fly again. Her hull was too damaged, her systems too destroyed, but she would not be forgotten. The Concorde would preserve her as a monument, the ship that gave everything so that everyone else could have a tomorrow. Sarah closed her eyes. She thought of her grandmother, who had first discovered the Harvester ruins. She thought of her father, who had given his life to building this impossible ship. She thought of Ambassador Chen Wei, who had stood alone before a hostile galaxy and offered them hope. They had been right, all of them, the crazy dreamers and the stubborn believers, the engineers who worked in secret and the diplomats who smiled through mockery. Everyone who had ever looked at the stars and refused to accept that the darkness would win. Commander, she said quietly, send a message to Earth. Tell them we kept our promise. 6 months later, the Galactic Compact was officially ratified. All fleet limitations were permanently abolished. Instead, a new principle guided military policy: shared defense, shared responsibility. No species would face extinction alone. No threat would go unanswered. At the signing ceremony, a Kethri teacher brought her students to see the preserved hull of the Prometheus. The great ship hung in space near Axis Prime, surrounded by memorial lights that would burn forever. This is where it began, the teacher said. One ship, one choice, one species that decided to trust the rest of us with their greatest secret. A young human girl raised her hand. But why did they share everything? Were they not scared we would use it against them? The teacher smiled. She was old now, old enough to remember the war, old enough to remember the fear. They were terrified, she said, but they decided that a galaxy that could work together was worth more than any advantage they could keep for themselves. The children looked at the great ship in wonder. Outside the station, the galaxy turned. Stars were born and died. Civilizations rose and fell and rose again. But wherever beings looked up at the night sky, they remembered. They remembered the day they looked at a human Titan-class ship and learned that true strength was never about the weapons you built. It was about the hands you chose to place them in, and they never forgot.